This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. The sun is shining and calling your name, fellas. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code LASERTIME.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 435 of Video Game Apocalypse. I'm your host, Michael Raparez, coming to you from the Teddy Rossi Memorial Studio of the airwaves. If you want to get in on the studio naming action, go to patreon.com/lasertime. Who is joining me?
Fellow Bostonite, Chris Antista. My nickname this week is Vodka, and I want to say Tramfalmador, but I know that's Kurt Vonnegut's Alien.
Tramadol?
Yeah, that's the one. That's what I'm taking. How did you know that?
I'll tell you after the show.
Okay.
And
I mean, you're taking that. I'm just mainlining Heartguard over here. This is Junior Psychonaut Matthew Allen.
So Matt's taking fucking animal anti-worm pills. Like
yeah.
Oh, you clearly, just like me, are getting Joe Rogan's newsletter. It's great. It's,
I love, like, I'd get, like, him coming up and, like, I have it. Do you have to publicly admit that you're doing the horse pace, Joe? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I'm doing everything else what I was supposed to do. It would make this easy as fuck.
I'm doing horse dewormer and horse tranquilizer.
It's wild, though. You know, I tried DMT, and DMT didn't help this time. But have you done DMT?
I'm doing elk meat and elk tranquilizer. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Well, the meat's really sleepy, but other than that, doesn't seem to be doing much about the COVID.
My favorite Joe Rogan thing was, like, someone had bought one of those plane, things across the sky that literally, it said, Joe Rogan is literally 5'6" or something, some shit like that. Just like, I love the balls. Just, okay, you're going to pay for
a lot. That. But we are the only, I want to say, one of the few video game podcasts that's multi-coast. No COVID yet.
That's true.
And I've been living with a person with COVID and didn't get it somehow, and I'm just baffled by that.
Could have something to do with the fact that you got a vaccine.
I think it could have something to do with the fact that I do a video game podcast. If you do a video...
Yes.
That's
the magic cure. Doing a video game podcast or contributing to the Patreon.
Pull that up, Tampy. You choke someone out and you do a video game podcast. You don't get COVID.
Is it a video game podcast that makes fun of more popular non-video game podcasts right at the top of the show? Then even better.
Oh, that was my bad Joe Rogan. It sounded like a Fred Flintstone who wasn't born in the 50s. Poor Joe Rogan. I've never said that.
Okay.
I've never said that.
This is a video game show, and as we said on a previous show, summer is kind of winding down. And I think it's officially over by the time you hear this. Maybe not like, oh, summer actually ends September 20th or whatever. I don't care. Summer ends when August does, as far as I'm concerned. And
I was real bummed out because, like, my friends' kids were going back to school. Like, that means the end of summer. The heat has not stopped where I'm at, and summer shows no signs of stopping. And I don't want to set up my Halloween decorations because my grass is still growing really. Like to a crazy extent. I think most of the polls have been reversed. I say this as a Christmas fan. We associate snowfall with Christmas. Almost no one has seen that in like 5 years. The snowfall at Christmas, it comes in January or February. I don't know what any of it means. And it's hotter here than ever.
Well, all I know is that 2 days from when this goes live will be Labor Day. You can no longer wear white shoes. Am I right, Chris?
I have less respect for people who tell me I can't do that than grammatical corrections in speech. Like, go fuck yourself forever. Like, I cannot stand this.
By the way, we all work from home. Who wears shoes? Get out of here with this.
I haven't worn shoes in years. Come on.
Yeah, we're all Stephen Hawking right now. We have several pairs of immaculate shoes.
Oh, the fashion faux pas. Yeah, so with summer ending, Matt, you had the idea to talk about games set at summer camps.
I love summer camp. I don't know why. Ever since I was a kid.
I never went to summer camp. I've always thought of, like, is it more of like an East Coast thing? I don't know.
Well, like the hardcore summer camps are an East Coast thing.
I just never did. I had summers at home riding bikes and playing video games with friends.
Did your parents not work? Like, did somebody stay home? Like, my parents always had to keep working.
No, I think Michael's right, though, is like, so the kind you see in the movies, like pop culture, movies and TV with like color war and shit like that, that's not how summer camps were on the West Coast. Like in California, I think there was one camp that would be 1 week during the summer, but there certainly weren't any like, hey, you're going to go for a month to camp, right?
Right.
Like I had a couple like weekend camps.
The shit you see in Salute Your Shorts where you're at summer camp for the whole summer, I didn't see that either.
Yeah.
That's more of like an East Coast thing.
I think it's specifically like an East Coast New York thing. Like it goes back to the tradition of like before there was widespread air conditioning, that New Yorkers would often like leave the city during the summer because it got so hot and go to like a resort in the Catskills, something like that.
Yeah, right.
But
But I did this a lot. I spent my entire summer somewhere else. Sorry, like even if I was in the same spot, and if I went away to summer camp, like a sleepaway camp, that was for 1 week at a time because like who the fuck? Do you know how much it costs to clothe, sleep, and feed a human being? Like, who could afford sending
even
a
with
kid
like
away?
gross camp food, right? It's still
it would still be like hundreds of thousands of dollars to send you away. My parents would like save up to send me away. Like, this is going to be the fun for you. So I went to both sleepaway camp and I went to mostly YMCA camps.
Okay,
which I think were free. But the YMCA is kind of diminished in most people's eyes. And more than anything, I want to talk about summer camp because my relation to video games, that's where, can you imagine 1988 when video games were the most popular and we're sent to a place with only people our age who have no access to them? That's all we talk about. And then a few years later, we find a summer camp that has all video games.
But the reason I thought of this as a top 5 is as a kid, I was in love with the idea of summer camp. Like I had a voracious appetite for like any books about camp, TV shows. I loved the movie Poison Ivy starring Michael J. Fox, and Blair, I think, from...
That's the Poison Ivy you saw?
Yes.
The Drew Barrymore one?
Yeah, but also Meatballs and stuff. Like for some reason, summer camps were all over pop culture, except, as Michael and I found, like, not really so much in video games. Like, you would think more games would have camp levels, at least.
It is, surprisingly difficult to find video games set at summer camps that do not include spree killers, that, like, try to offer any sort of genuine recreation of the summer camp experience. That is just not done.
Can I paraphrase a Norm Macdonald joke?
Sure.
Everyone knows this. I like my video games like I like my... like I like my movies. No. I like. Hold on, edit that out and don't. By the way, I like my video games like I like my pasta. Meatballs too.
Wait, is that true? That is a callback that you really have to listen to every episode to understand.
Kevin Nealon.
Mm-hmm. No, but no, it's so weird that they're not in Vigigames more because it is such an appropriate setting. It's like, you're out in the woods. There's animals. There's fucking
an appropriate
cabins.
Movie setting where adults don't exist, so therefore you aren't protected from murderers, condoms, anything. I had all my fucking first kisses and finger bangs and seeing bras. That was all at summer camp. The most scared I ever was. All the summer camp.
Mm-hmm. You always had a camp crush and shit, of course.
I went to summer camp in Florida, and they told us to keep us in our bunks at night, which were all classily named after tribes we
eradicated
in Motown. I was in the Apache and the Shoshone cabin, but they were like, there's this big mental institution next door, and they will not hurt you, but there are tons of mental patients wandering around the summer camp at night.
Oh,
And
that
instead of
sounds
the
like a great situation.
And instead of the counselors coming up and like, gotcha, get back in your bunk, they told us like, so these people were all at this hippie mental institution. They were told to talk and stare at trees. And if you snuck out of your bunk, instead of the counselors coming at you, they knew to like stop and stare at a tree. And that's basically the end of Blair Witch Project, which you would see at our summer camp, and people would tell, oh my God, I went to go pee at night without permission, and then there was someone staring at a tree. I saw it, I swear to God, and like, it was so, like 5 years of my life were so frightening. Like, I'm in this woods with the mental patients. Oh my God.
I feel like all you have to say to a kid in Florida is there are alligators loose at night. Don't get out of your bunk.
No, the alligators would sleep on our docks, and as a counselor in training, not even a full counselor, I would have to go to the docks and swim to the dock and get off there, you dumb alligator! Get off of there! Like that was
Cajun
my job.
Chris over here.
That was my job. Summer
Get in there, little fella. There's some bon temps roulette somewhere else, alligator.
Has to be with a Cajun accent, or they won't respond.
Right, yeah. Oh, you goddamn locking I'm going. Hearts go out to people in New Orleans, by the way.
Oh,
Jesus
Christ.
Yeah.
Bad,
tough week.
Bad timing on that joke.
I know, but it's not that. Like, I love the people of New Orleans. I love New Orleans. But growing up in that area, I share an ecosystem with New Orleans, just not the sea level. So we're kindred spirits. But summer camp, I still don't get it. You send your kids here for, I'm going to guess, thousands of dollars, and they will be taken care of by horny 14-year-olds. Like, how does this make any sense?
What if
like
they are having sex while a little kid swims all by himself and drowns because he can't swim?
I've told the story in another podcast. I'm going to tell it here. It's the most fucked up thing I've ever lived through as being a kid of the 80s. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. This show is we do a lot of nostalgic show. The 80s are great, blah, blah, blah. But here's why it's bad. I went to a summer camp in the Everglades, and a counselor named Doug put us all in a line. He's like, I pick every month my favorite camper. All men, by the way. All little kids, all little boys. And he sleeps with me in my bunk.
Oh,
and I feed him pizza.
God damn it.
And we're all like, oh God, I hope it's me. And like, we were all devastated that it was Rob and not us. And in this bunk, this fucking 8-year-old would sleep with this 20-year-old who he'd feed pizza and candy. And that's, so when I try and get nostalgic about camp, I'm like, what the fuck was that?
That's
I
just
have a picture
Canteen
with
Boy
this
at
guy.
that point, isn't it? That's just the Alec Baldwin sitting there with his martini. Come on, Canteen Boy.
Canteen Boy all over again. We lived through some stupid, unregulated shit.
The wildest summer camp I went to, and this is very Californian, very cool. I spent a week on Catalina Island. Just fucking straight up the ending of The Last of Us 2. I was on Catalina, and the coolest part was one day we got to do a hike across the island to Avalon, the city there. Like, to go into the city and hang out,
I've Googled this a billion times. I love these areas.
Yeah. No, and Catalina's great, especially
Avalon
for camp.
is like where they film most like old-timey movie. Right?
But man, that was very uniquely Californian of like, yeah, we took a boat over to the island for summer camp for a week and then came back. Like, very lucky. But most of mine, by the way, church camps. Yeah. Church camp. Yeah.
I have one experience that could be described as summer camp, but my dad was there, so it doesn't entirely count. But it was like a Boy Scout camp in Oregon called Camp Merriweather. And I remember having to hike there with like 25 pounds of gear, which like I think I was like 12, so that was a lot.
Yeah,
all of them were Michael's Game Gear's batteries.
I wish I had a Game Gear. But I remember I did not change out of my Boy Scout uniform for that entire week, which horrified my mom when I got home. I wasn't old enough to actually have BO.
Right.
But I did shower and stuff. I just didn't change my clothes.
I mean, as long as your underwear changes, that's fine.
Yeah. And the first day there, there was like, let's all go swimming in the lake. And my memory of it is jumping off the dock, and suddenly realizing I have never been in water this cold in my life.
Oh shit.
Yep.
And like losing motor function and like barely being able to dog
I know what you're
paddle.
talking about.
And,
I know what you're talking about.
And then they're like, oh, well, this guy's a non-swimmer. It's like, no, I can swim, just not in this.
Yeah,
everybody else is fine. I don't know what your problem is. But here's the thing. I gulped down so much lake water that I got horrible, horrible strep throat with laryngitis and had to go to the ER in the middle of the week.
I was in an advanced camp where they made us hike like the whole day, and like everyone's complaining we're out of water, and like it's just the sun hitting us in the sand. We're in Florida, and I remember I jumped into a lake and swam and gulped water as I swam as fast as I could. And then I also remember later that night, the main counselor told us about being an alcoholic, and how he sees anytime you see a crow, it's coming to tear your alcoholic heart out.
Jesus.
And we're also camping in a dead Indian bear. All this shit is so fucked up. Like, camping is a fucking fun. Like someone invited me to a camping group, and I had to remind them, like, I camped most of my life pre-20s, and it's all traumatizing. And I watched a guy's head get split open by an axe.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah, like, the guy, it was the same story. The guy's like, we're on an Indian burial ground, and you guys aren't respecting it. And I'm going to tell you about my alcoholism and how the Indians fucking came after me. And like, Jesus. But the whole camp had an Native American theme.
Mm.
And then this guy threw an axe, and it came back and hit him in the face. And clearly it was because he hit a line that was tied to a pole. He didn't notice that he was trying to chop wood, and then hit a line of a tent, and the axe came back and hit him in the head. And the adult counselor, when we're 10, says, "That's the demons, man. That's the demons."
Jesus,
and we were all fucking terrified forever.
I love this guy. I fucking love this guy. I want to meet this guy.
It's something I still every time I think about alcoholism, I think about a crow, a Native American crow tearing my guts out.
That is not how most alcoholics
bouncing at you back at your face.
What a terrible thing to introduce children to. I only want to say, like, I want to ask this maybe at the end of the show. My dad liked the outdoors, liked going outdoors with me, and did a lot of fun stuff with me that is not traumatizing. And a lot of this stuff I have a lot of great memories about camp. But then my friend in 1990 or 91 was like, dude, I go to this fucking camp. They have, instead of canoeing, they have NESs. They have arcade games.
Right.
And I was like, what is this camp? And my parents learned about it, and like, this costs money. And like, and then my sister got on them too, and they sent me to it. And I just remember it sounded like one word, East Hill Baptist. And I'm a little kid. I thought it was East Hill Baptist, one word. But then I didn't know it was a Southern Baptist camp where it's cheaper because they subsidize this shit because you have to go get indoctrinated in a church once a week. For sure.
Church camp.
But I played the most video games I've ever played in the early 90s at a summer camp that I went to every single day.
Damn.
Oddly enough, while trying to research for this show, now the SEO has taken over. If you do video game summer camp, there are tons of video game summer camps out there. That is all you find.
Well, it's like in this new Space Jam movie where it's like a game development summer camp. You'll learn how to make
LeBron's
a game.
son. Yeah, LeBron's fake son's camp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
LeBron, I want to make a Game Boy game that steals your identity. That is number 40 on the stupidest things that happened in this new Space Jam movie. Oh my god!
I thought you were going to say this year, and I would have agreed with either sentiment.
Yeah. New Space Jam movie is so dumb.
Yeah,
so dumb. Look what nostalgia can do to you.
We should.
Also, if you were expecting anything different, you might be so dumb for expecting that. Like, go watch the first Space Jam.
You might be a camper. Show me your wigwam.
So on that, we should probably go to break because our advertisers are getting antsy. So, we want our balls to thank us. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about summer camp video games right after this.
Folks, you might have heard us talk about Manscaped and the importance of male grooming before. Well, now that summer is upon us and the clothes are starting to come off, it's more important than ever to give yourself a little boost of confidence and look your personal best by taking care of some of that stray body hair, some of it down there.
Since it's so hot, you might even want to trim things a bit shorter than usual. And when you do, take it from two guys who have learned the hard way, more than we care to admit, you want to be sure you're doing so safely, especially when trimming the hair down there. And that is where Manscaped can help.
It may be a scorcher out there, but it's time to bundle up in here with Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, aka the GOAT of ball trimmers. Go! Weed Whacker ear and nose trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold onto your goodies.
Their 4th generation Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunctional on-off switch that can engage a travel lock, and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? In the shower or in the wild, and from your chest pubes all the way down to your ball fro, the Lawnmower 4.0 is the best trimmer for you.
Want to take your grooming game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ears.
The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Not those delicate holes, you sickos, your ear and nose holes.
Once you're done grooming, you seal the deal with Manscaped's delightfully scented liquid formulations. Before heading outside, use Crop Preserver ball deodorant to keep you on your game in the heat. Then after trimming the lawn and whacking your weeds, give your beach balls a boost with Crop Reviver.
There are few things as refreshing as a little spritz from the Crop Reviver.
Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to the Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort in boxers to another level and get 20% off and free shipping with the code LASERTIME at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code LASERTIME. One word, LASERTIME at manscaped.com. Escape the shrubs and the weeds this summer and shine with Manscaped.
Your balls will thank you.
And we're back to talk about what?
Camp!
Yep, camp.
Bug juice, camp on.
That's your wake-up camp call?
We had that at my first camp in the Everglades. That was a horrifying story. I've told on at least another podcast. My dad pulled strings because his company ran it. And by that I mean the Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission. And got me in at the last minute, but he got me in as a 8-year-old into a camp cabin of 13-year-olds.
Oh, that's not good.
I remember walking in like, hey everybody, I just got a Happy Meal with a Garfield toy in it and I like it. He's got pink skates. And everyone's like, and then I just cried for a week. And this is camp in the 80s, by the way, like just everyone yelling.
Yeah. That's
the
just a
F
recipe.
word at me.
That's a recipe for you being the plucky mascot of your cabin at that point in an 80s movie.
Here's how even more 80s it was. They were only counselors under 20, and our counselor got fired in the middle for, any guesses? No molestation. No.
Smoking and getting high while there was a spree murderer on.
Smoking a dude.
How did you do that? He got fired for smoking too much. For smoking too many cigarettes.
Oh, cigarettes. I thought you meant weed.
Yeah.
I thought you meant
the 80s, everyone. The 80s.
Fair enough.
Nothing is better now than it was. It's all better.
Where the shorts were short and the probations were long. The 80s.
Speaking of the 80s.
Number 5.
This camp.
I guess this was actually early 90s, but I'm guessing you guys recognize that music.
That is some Simpsons-ass music.
And I'm guessing because it's Escape from Camp Deadly.
Yeah, Bart Simpson's Escape from Camp Deadly. I think it may have actually inspired the Krusty Summer Camp episode.
The season 4 premiere, Camp Krusty.
Yeah, Camp Krusty and Mr. Black.
Which I believe they made a sequel to.
They did. It was not great. So Camp Deadly is named for the mountain next to it, Mount Deadly, but it does not sound like the kind of place you'd want to send a kid, and it kind of isn't. The one camp counselor is Iron Fist Burns, who basically looks like Mr. Burns' identical nephew. And has like a gauntlet that he wears for some reason, and it's all about Bart trying to escape with Lisa's help, and it feels a lot like the other shitty Simpsons games of its era. Like, it plays a bit like
I remember thinking this was going to be different.
No,
because all the screenshots in magazines, and by that I mean we used to read previews with 1.5 screenshots.
Ah, yes.
The half. It was a half literally because it was on the spine of the magazine. It was like the inside, and there was a staple.
It was like
through the
Sergio
middle of it.
Aragones margin cartoons. That's how we read previews.
Mm-hmm.
Michael's really wincing at my Sergio Aragones.
Aragones.
But
Bless you.
I thought this looked really good, and it was also exclusive. It wasn't a port.
That's
true. It was the first exclusive Simpsons game on a platform, because they all kind of went all over the place.
Yeah. And it like there was a little bit more variation here than I remember in some of the other Simpsons games, and yet there was so much that was the same. It's like just sort of a repeating loop of level themes, where you've got capture the flag, where you're trying to make it through a forest while dodging other kids, or throwing spitballs and boomerangs at them. And then you will climb up into a tree every so often. There'll be a boss in a tree house, and once you defeat him, Lisa will be standing there. You get something from her, like a beekeeper's hat or a radiation suit that you'll need to get through the hazards right ahead of you. And there's also like food fight levels at the Camp Mess, where you'll just grab tofu burgers or ice cream or whatever, start throwing it at other kids. But this did have a fair amount of digitized speech, for example. Wow, that is the sound of Bart dying. Also, if he gets hit, familiar. This did have a clip from Lisa, though, which you could only experience if you hit her in some way. And if you hit...
What'd she say?
Stop it, Bart. And if you did hit her, she would drop whatever she was holding for you, so you would have to try to get through the next section without that protection.
Well, I am not someone who reads the wiki and calls himself animation historian. Mm-hmm. But I can say from a definitive... I think Camp Krusty is one of the best episodes of The Simpsons I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And there should be nothing but games based on it.
And yet, all we have is this, and it's not great. I mean, it's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but I feel like it's something that would have happened 20 years from now, where they're like, this has the most fun level. Because The Simpsons don't really gravitate towards drama outside of the living room. Mm-hmm. The mob occasionally comes for The Simpsons, but they're still in their living room. There are so many crazy scenarios in this season 4 premiere of kids dying in rivers and killed by bears.
I think
it's so great.
That was the plot of the sequel. Is just like some kid that they thought had drowned in the river was still alive or something like that.
Yeah, it's some of the best animation the series has ever had, and then it has lines like "Gentlemen to evil," which people use for Republicans all the time.
Mm.
How did this developer, how'd they get away with calling themselves Imagineering, is what I want to know. Because I feel like Disney would sue your ass if you even tried that nowadays.
That is an excellent question. Maybe they were a subsidiary. Who knows?
It's ironic they might have sued them, but they also would own them now.
Mm.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Do we really want the rights to... Bart escaped from Camp Deadly. Oh, God, we'll have to buy Fox. Jesus.
Never forget. Yeah, Simpsons is still a Disney... Bart Simpson's still a Disney character.
30 years in the making. Yeah. Holy shit.
Well, I mean, yeah, they would have sued them out of existence, but they were a subsidiary of Absolute Entertainment, published by Acclaim. None of those people are around anymore, so there's no one to sue.
I mean, did you never, walk around... go to a place in San Francisco and, meet someone who worked at one of these places? Sorry, This is neither here nor there.
Well,
we went to a stand-up comedy school,
Jersey, so...
a couple of us, and then what did you do? And like, I worked for this Genesis company. They made the Genesis NBA Jam. And that's how the dude made his money. Like,
all right,
made Genesis games in the fucking 80s and 90s.
That's pretty
and
sweet.
Like, yeah, it was like made a huge amount of money.
The coolest pull I had from that was I worked with a guy briefly. He was working at Cryptic Studios. He was like one of the founders of Activision, like one of the early guys. Like came over from Atari.
Like Atari?
I was like trying to pick his brain about it, and he just didn't like talking about it. He's like, "Dude, it was just my job," and I'm like, "You're like one of the founding fathers of video games. You will answer my questions now."
Yeah, you're like a pre-NES founder of video games. Please tell me everything.
Yes.
God damn.
Yeah.
But my memories of Bart Escape from Camp Deadly, I think I told him on our previous podcast, but
you did.
Yeah.
I'm generally reminded one of the last shows I ever did.
Oh wow!
I made I turned your dad into Bumblebee Man.
That's right. That's right. My son. Son. But the story is that
I met your dad and I hate myself for having done that.
Yes. That's why it was funny, because I was like, "You've met my dad. You know he sounds nothing like that." For people who didn't listen to our show from years and years ago, what happened was I was visiting my family in Spain, and there was a lightning storm, and a huge tree on their property fell over, and so like the adults went out to investigate, and I was like 13, 14. I wasn't going to miss this for the world, and so I just like took off tearing across. They had this big plot of land with like all these trees, and just like running down this hill, breakneck speed. I jump over what I think is a concrete block. Something smacks into my face super hard, and the next thing I know, I'm lying on my back, staring up at a rebar trellis that I have just jumped straight into at a run, and it clipped me like under my left eye. And gave me a serious black eye. I'm surprised I didn't break any face bones.
I'm surprised people haven't seen this on TikTok. Your dad filmed it. And it goes,
that would have been great.
And it goes, "Oh no. Oh no.
At first when you said a tree fell down, I thought, then you made a baseball bat out of it and you starred in The Natural. And it was a great movie.
A Natural reference, which I only get to The Simpsons, FYI.
Yeah. But anyway, I spent the rest of that evening with a steak on my face, playing my cousin's Game Boy and the only game that he had for it, which was Simpsons Escape from Camp Deadly.
I think you might be the only person I know in real life who has put a steak on their face. That is such...
I've done it.
They didn't have ice packs. That's what they had.
Yeah.
I am old enough to remember a girl punched me in the face, gave me a black eye, and like the whole school was like, "We better put a steak on this before this ruins your reputation."
Go get a steak from the cafeteria.
We'll get one of the teachers' lounge. Let's dump a box of steak. This kid will never survive this.
Anyway, we've talked too much about Simpsons Escape from Camp Deadly. Let's move along.
It's a platformer. It's not much going on.
It's I love the little Michael Raparez lore. This all makes sense.
But I mean, one thing
he was happier.
Now here's a question: is it better than Bart versus the Space Mutants because it doesn't have all the
Everything
crazy
is.
bullshit?
Yeah, no, I have to say it is better than Bart versus the Space Mutants. That game sucks balls.
Yeah, weirdly, the Game Boy Simpsons are all better than the NES.
Camp Deadly is at least comprehensible, and like the jumping doesn't like completely suck and feel weirdly floaty, and it makes more sense. There's not the same lag after you hit a button. Anyway,
nice fruit roll, man.
Let's move on to
number 4.
They thought camp would be fun. But it wasn't long before they realized it would be deadly.
Not Camp Deadly, surprisingly.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Is this that Slay Away Camp game?
This is Slay Away Camp. Have you guys ever played this?
No.
It is great. It is a parody Friday the 13th knockoff where you are this killer in a skull mask just slaughtering all these teenagers that look like if you squashed a Minecraft person to about like half the size.
Okay, yeah.
And it's actually a puzzle game because the puzzle is that the killer can only move in a straight line and he can only be stopped by obstacles or victims. So it's like a sliding block thing where you have to slide him around and figure out how to make him collide. with the...
So you are the victim.
I know you are the killer.
You're the killer. I played the skinned version of this, which was the Friday the 13th killer puzzle game.
This same developer went on to do Friday the 13th killer puzzle years later, which is a bit more sophisticated than this, but this still has a certain charm, and it's surprisingly fun to just completely murderize a bunch of little cube people. All those thumps are the killer hitting walls.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah. And then at the end of every level, you get like a little quick time thing where like
Devil May Cry.
Stop this icon in the red zone, and if you do, you'll get to do a cinematic murder on another camper. So yeah, you are slaughtering the counselors, but it has a video, like a 1980s video store aesthetic and conceit where like, oh no, the first set of levels is just the first movie. And as you go through, you unlock more and more movies, and they all have...
What is this on, Michael?
This is on PC. It's on mobile.
Switch.
Several different things. And it might have made it to other consoles. I'm not sure. I didn't look. But as you unlock more of these movies, they all come with different intros, and here are a bunch of them all in a row.
They thought it was safe to go back to camp, but it wasn't. They thought the nightmare was over, but it still wasn't over. School is out for summer. School is out forever. Because they're dead. They thought the beach would have lots of sand, and it did. The Big Apple just got sliced and diced. And the apple core thrown in the garbage. The apple core is a metaphor for their heads.
Right. Baltimore. I gotcha. Yeah, apple core. Yeah. No, I'm trying to remember the way these play. If I'm remembering correctly, it's almost like a block puzzle in games where you're like, you know, those puzzles in games where it's like you can slide, but it'll just keep sliding until it hits a wall.
That's what I said earlier. Yeah. You move in a straight line, and yeah, it's basically you're sliding a block across ice, and it gets stopped by obstacles or things it needs to kill.
You're Mickle Cubicling?
You're Mickle Cubicling. That's it. Oh, that's what it feels like.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Sorry, I'm so drunk. And medicated. I've never heard of this game.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fun. It's a good little mobile game, and then the Friday the 13th reskin's fine too. You know?
Yeah, it's like $5 on Steam. I'm sure it's even cheaper on mobile, and it's pretty good on mobile. Actually, it's
so weird. Just children from future generations probably won't watch Meatballs. They'll watch Friday the 13th, and that will be their knowledge of 80s summer camp, period.
And Sleepaway Camp, which had a brief renaissance for some reason a few years back.
I think you would like this. I think you'd like the Friday the 13th reskin, Chris, because it has like all the variations of Jason. There's like Uber Jason, which is like Jason in space. There's Apocalypse Jason. There's all, they're just skins, you know, it doesn't really do much, but it's like, yeah, if you're into Friday the 13th, or if you've hosted a podcast all about Friday the 13th called Elm Street Nightmare, you might be into it.
Yeah, I think you might be hitting on the wrong franchise there, Matt. But anyway,
no, Chris, tell him you did Friday the 13th on Elm Street Nightmare. It's not just me.
It
just sounds funny.
The whole thing.
But anyway, Slayaway Camp is great. You should all check it out. But clearly, Matt does not think it's as good as
number 3.
Yeah.
Now, I think Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, or ACPC, as I'm going to call it from now on, does not quite qualify as a summer camp game because you are a campsite manager, but Matt thinks otherwise.
Well, it's because you got people take up semi-permanent residence in your camp. You have a campsite that you're going back to. You know, Tom Nook is basically just like a head counselor running a camp, and he's monetizing the shit out of this thing. Here's the thing. I think we can all agree when this game first came out, we were all a little bit disappointed. Like, man, I really wanted Animal Crossing and I got a mobile game with a ton of mobile game hooks in it. I don't know if you have been back to this game recently, but they have added so much shit. And yes, a lot of it's like monetization stuff, but like, I think what I really want, having played New Horizons when that came out last year and just, oh man, I think most of us kind of came up and went, you know, I wish New Horizons got more content more often. Pocket Camp does. It gets updated all the fucking time with a bunch of shit. What we really need is a happy medium of those two games. Like somewhere right in the middle. Like maybe get that release cadence of Pocket Camp, but like not
something
all the
Chinese government
stuff.
can't ban.
Yeah, there you go. But Pocket Camp it's not just straight up Animal Crossing, but actually I think some of the stuff they did in there was innovative, and it did get brought into New Horizons, and I wish New Horizons would bring in a few more things from Pocket Camp, if I'm being honest. You know?
I also feel like the activities, like you can go off-site for, you know, various activities and classes and things. So it's like that feels a little more summer campy to me, the more structured playtime. But at the same time, you still get to wander around in nature shaking trees. Some peaches just fell down.
Some eggplant just fell down.
Yeah.
So here's the thing,
Eggplant
Michael.
emojis.
Let's just say, if all the other games are summer camps, this is the game where you're the creepy weirdo who lives near a summer camp in his van. Because that's
you're
what
the
this
harbinger.
game is. Yeah.
You guys need any help with anything?
I'll be the first to die. Don't worry.
Chris, who's the crazy guy in Friday the 13th that doesn't die till like 3, that is always warning them?
The guy who delivers the speech, everyone's gonna totally fucked!
Yeah.
Is that the guy with the laundry pole?
Um,
In 3?
In the third one? No, he's the heart. Oh, fuck. I forget his name. Sorry.
He's like Crazy Eddie or some shit like that. He's like, he's the old guy that warns everyone at the summer camp. You're that guy. You're the crazy guy who lives in a van down by the animals. But no, I actually quite like Pocket Camp now. And quick little plug for them. You can get a lot of those My Nintendo reward points by doing shit in Pocket Camp and redeem those for real world goods. Like I've gotten like a Cat Mario keychain, and there's all kinds of shit that you can get in there. So do that.
I guess that's kind of neat.
It's very neat.
Yeah.
I got a Mario Christmas ornament from that thing.
Wow. All right. Sold.
No, Pocket Camp is I hate to say it, but in some ways better than New Horizons.
Gasp.
Like hot take.
I mean, that is a game of the year contender, probably.
I remember playing it with my lady, and like, we should be able to do more. Like, just pay him money, and we couldn't.
But now you can. They've added all kinds of shit in there. There's like limited edition furniture that they sell in these little fortune cookies. There's like flower cultivating. There's a little flower garden next to your campsite.
I'd rather be dead than do that. But
I mean, there's cool ways like versus like in New Horizons where it's like, hey, you want to change the world. You kind of just have to unlock the little excavation tools and you can make it whatever you want. In Pocket Camp, you kind of have to earn like themes and settings of like, oh, well, I'm going to make this. This isn't one of them, but like, I would make this like a circus setting in the background or something like that. And then I'm like, you know, I wish New Horizons had more of that stuff versus just make a river or cliff. Be like, no, you can make kind of a cool themed background. Like, that would be kind of cool and kind of neat, you know?
Nope. Gonna need to pole vault over 1 foot.
But one thing it did that New Horizons definitely brought in is like decorating outdoors was not a thing in Animal Crossing until Pocket Camp. Like you decorate your campsite outdoors. Like,
well, you'll decorate a campsite, all right, with blood.
Number 2.
Wait, what?
Whoa, did you just hear that? Sounded like screaming.
Probably someone getting bonked upstairs, man. How come you don't get loud when we get it on?
Well, I'm just gonna have to keep trying, babe. No!
Holy shit! What's going on? What are you doing?
Just testing it out, honey.
Well, cut it out. You're harsh in my eye, babe.
Just, you know, having some false alarms for the audience while we talk about sex and getting high.
It's so weird. It's just not unlike clowns and four square dancing. Like camp is becoming very creepy. Like a horror I had a ton of fun in camp. I really did.
How do you
I've
not
never
pull
played bumper pool in my life other than camp.
Michael, I gotta ask you, how do you talk about Friday the 13th, the new game, and not pull a clip of some little kid complaining that his brother has a headache or being trapped in a wall talking shit to Dave and Chris?
The Jace Chase?
Oh, you mean
the
this
Jason.
one?
Did you say the Jace Jace?
He did. He said the Jace Jace.
Here comes
What are
the
you supposed
Jace
to? I
Jace.
just wanted you to escape once, Dave, not die instantly.
It's a classic to this day.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever done streaming, and
I think
and
I was
every time Dave and I did it at 3:00, someone on the East Coast, there'd be a child,
Yes.
playing Friday the 13th, the game, which was no.
That's
I have a
the
weird
new-
memory.
Remember when we were kids and other kids were watching the Friday the 13th movies?
Yeah.
Now kids will play the Friday the 13th game. That's
Right.
the illicit rite of passage or whatever.
So
But it made the game so much creepier. I'm in the wall. I'm in the walls. I'm in the walls. Can you get me? Can you get me? Like, shut up! I want to go home. Ah!
my brother has a headache. Like, I don't care, kid. Shut up.
Yeah.
But the game itself is quite fun. I think this might be the most successful case of asymmetric multiplayer that we have currently out there. Like, one person gets to be Jason with cool ass powers.
It's very well balanced, and it's very authentic to the property. Where Friday the 13th, it doesn't say it on the label, but like Jason's supposed to win.
Right. Well,
And
they
like,
also
you're not
explain
playing this game because I'm going to be the best camper ever,
Yeah.
and take out Jason
Well,
until the end of time.
I think there the fun is more in like seeing how long you can survive with Jason hunting you.
That game for 1 year was the most fun Friday the 13th movie simulator I'd ever seen. It was so great.
Well, it's also like very true to the lore. Like Tommy is the only one who can like easily stun Jason, and he has to show up though, like during the course of a match.
you have to call him.
Yeah, but it also like it creates lore to explain Jason's power, something the movies had never done, like no other game had bothered with. It's like, oh, well, Jason sort of has this warping power where he kind of becomes mist, and I'm like,
Eventually, yeah.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of those powers
No,
in
I
there,
do.
it's like, oh, we've given like an explanation of the shit Jason can do in the movies. It's like, oh, that's one of
Yeah.
your powers as Jason. No one had bothered ever explaining, well, why is Jason so powerful other than being a uber zombie? I don't know, you know?
And it was crazy because like it doesn't explain what Jason can do.
Mm-hmm.
It just gives you the power to do it, and you're like, well, that makes sense because it's Jason.
Yeah,
Sure, but like,
right.
but like none of the movies made any sense. Like Jason can evaporate places. That doesn't make it. It's never been written down.
Right.
But it's just like it's so
in half
accurate to the
movies,
movie.
It's not even Jason. It's someone else who just magically has Jason's
Yeah,
power.
it's awesome.
Who can just appear where he's not supposed to be.
And you get to do that. Like it's amazing. It makes you the when you're Jason in the game, you're the default director of a Friday the 13th movie, which is crazy.
Well, you have a power too, where like if there's people in a cabin, doesn't it turn the cabin red in Jason vision so you can like kind of know where the counselors are? I love the
Maybe it's been
like
long
the
since I played
stereotypes of the camp counselors, like basically the players you can play are just so 80s fucking movie tropes. It's so good.
It's amazing. And you know, going back to what you were saying about like, oh, is this the best asymmetrical multiplayer? Like, I think maybe Dead by Daylight has a bit more popularity. But I realized something, like having never really played Dead by Daylight, but watching a stream of it a while ago, I realized like it does the Splinter Cell thing of one team has third-person view and the other has first-person view, and that the killers have first-person view. So it's easier, like, the victims have that advantage where they can actually sneak a little bit more effectively because the killer can only see straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's interesting. But Jason, meanwhile, has full third-person vision, is not restricted by anything like that, and can zero in on campers wherever they might be.
It seems weird to someone who grew up with like multiplayer, like, oh, this is important. Don't sell them don't let people buy power in a multiplayer game where like the Friday the 13th game came out and like, this is going to be unfair. If you're Jason,
Yeah.
it's going to be very unfair.
You've got your mother's head talking to you from beyond the grave. That's extremely unfair.
They deserve to die, Jason. Make them suffer.
To the point where they added a single-player mode, and it is just you playing as Jason going around killing people at the various settings.
Yeah, I think they intentionally like make it so like if you actually want to beat Jason, it's like a puzzle. There's all these steps you have to take to actually kill him.
We were never able to do it on the stream.
But most people, like the way you win as a counselor is just surviving the match. Like you're not doing anything to Jason. It's really just a thing of like, oh, you might escape on a boat, or you might just hide the whole match until the timer's up.
Or you might get a car started, whatever.
Yeah. But it's like, the way to win in true Friday the 13th fashion is like not to fight. It's to run your ass away. Get out of there. Like you can't beat Jason.
Yeah.
But that game also
my
had.
pussy-ass dad would say that's the best way to win any fight, but my dad is also Billy Jack. It's the first time I've said that.
This game also had, I think it was like for Kickstarter people only, or there was only a certain way to get it. It had the purple Jason outfit from the NES game, right?
Possibly? I'm not sure. That might have been like a mod that someone added in, but
No, it was definitely there.
No, it was official.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to transition you into the NES game, Michael. That was your segue.
No, I do have a clip from the NES game, which does have, still, like all these years later, and as terrible as that game is, one of the most effective jump scares for my money in any video game ever. Just that feeling of you're exploring interiors of cabins with this calm music, and then you just turn 90 degrees and burn, Jason's there, and then you're in a fight for your life.
Again, we streamed it on youtube.com/lasertime, and Dave grew up figuring it out with his brothers, and like it makes sense for a Jason game. Like you're not gonna kill Jason here, but like you don't know where he's going to be.
I don't think this game
is
is
to avoid him, and you can look in your map and see when kids are being killed.
Right.
Like, be out of that area.
I don't think the game itself is terrible. It was just very hard to understand for us as kids.
It's not linear, and it's always different. It's very strange.
That's interesting because I thought you were supposed to go where the kids were being killed and stop Jason, like you're chasing him off.
Yeah, I was never able to do anything in that game, and I'm also very drunk and medicated now.
Well,
It's
supposed
right
to
up there
be
with E.T., where it's just like, this is incomprehensible unless you've got a strategy guide, and then it's not even great.
right.
Unless you don't play it like a game.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like at the time the internet didn't exist. We didn't have anyone to tell us like, oh, you're supposed to be getting better weapons for the counselor so you can be more effective against Jason and do this and this. And it's like, yeah, it really just sort of is a puzzle with like these weird roguelike elements because the map changes every time you start a new game and stuff. Or it's different. It's just like there was nothing like it. It's a bit, in my mind at least, I always compare it to the Jaws game. The Jaws game had some weird puzzleness to it as well.
I think it might have been the same developers. Chris, you were on a show, I think a Retronauts a long time ago, where you guys talked about that. But that they were both sort of like held up as these are like the first levels of much more ambitious games. That's how they feel.
They're LGN games that are like weirdly accurate to their movies.
But they were like secretly developed by these Japanese studios that didn't have their names on.
They were, but they're all also like so accurate they're not fun.
Yeah.
But if you learn how to play with them, like, holy shit, these are really authentic to what you shouldn't walk out and fight Jaws.
Right. It also made me...
You can in the Jaws game.
I always wondered...
You can do that in the Friday the 13th game.
This was Atlas.
If you're lucky.
The old school game was Atlas, and I always just kind of wonder, like, did those Japanese devs know about Friday the 13th that much? Like, was it big over there?
1980s movies were huge.
Did they know how to program randomness? That's the weirdest thing, because like when I played Alien Isolation, that's when I like randomness became a thing. Like, but these NES games did it early on. Like,
sure,
the goal is to defeat the big enemy, but like nobody in the movies has ever defeated this person. Why would it be you?
Right? Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah. It kind of falls into the same camp as like the Goonies 2 game of like, it's just tough for kids at the time to figure out what the fuck am I supposed to be doing in this game. But we maybe didn't even care because we just liked that we were playing something at the time. It's like, cool, yeah, I get to be Mikey. Neat, you know?
Yeah. Jaws I remember the best because I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I wanted to fight Jaws, and that happened randomly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you would.
Yeah, you'd see that fin, and then all of a sudden you hit Jaws. Shit.
Yeah, and you're fighting from a boat, and you're like basically dropping depth charges, I think. And then at one point you are a scuba diver trying to fight him.
Basically you're in your boat until anything touches the boat, and then the boat disappears, and you're a scuba diver. And maybe you get a mini sub,
and then you need a bigger boat.
Well, that whole game is just sailing back and forth between two ports, getting upgrades for your boat.
Yeah, it's a smuggling game. It's smugglers run the video game. They just never told us. You know, you were smuggling weed in those boats. But that's fine.
All right, well, let's wrap this up, because Chris looks like he needs a break.
Number 1.
They told me this was a summer camp.
Dogan, don't worry about old Coach Oleander. I've been coming here for years, and trust me, nothing ever happens.
Yeah, Dogan, Lily's right. You don't got nothing to worry about. Except for that giant monster in the lake I was telling you about.
What game is this?
I miss those little bastards from Psychonauts. The one complaint I have about the sequel, which is, by the way, my game of the year so far, is I wish some of the other little friends from the camp were brought back for the sequel. Instead, they give them all new intern friends, but like, Psychonauts is so good, and I didn't appreciate it at the time, and I actually went back and replayed it to beat it before 2 this year. This game holds up, and this is the best example, which is why it's our number 1, of summer camp in a video game.
Yeah.
Like, this is straight up fucking summer camp, dude.
Actually,
There's
one thing
cabins.
that impressed me about the clip that I just played, I think it's the bully, Robbie Zilch, or whatever his name was, that when he talks, so he has like this really big gums and sort of like a protruding upper jaw.
Right.
And during that scene, while he's talking, it does not move. It is fixed in space, and the rest of his face moves around it. Like, that is bizarre.
Oh yeah, the designs in this game are just out there for the human beings. But then, like, you know, the camp setting, it's a pretty traditional looking, it's a cartoony, exaggerated, you know, angles on the buildings and shit like that. But it's like
it's
what you think of when you think of camp. Like
cabins and kids and activities and arrowheads.
The camp's built on an Indian burial ground, and...
Oh my gosh! Indians buried their dead here?
Ew! I hope not. No, stupid. They buried their arrowheads here.
Oh, okay. It's
yeah.
The idea of a long log, but we can't pass this. The log is 4 feet above ground.
No.
It is a camp with there's like psychic cougars that attack you at night. There's some foolishness in this camp.
I love this game, and the new game I think is my game of the year material.
Well, I love that Ford Kroller, who, you know, goes on to play a major part in the first game, and spoilers, might be in the second game, is like, he's like kind of the, I don't even know what trope this would be, like the character of kind of the weird chef at camp, which I guess is in Wet Hot American Summer, of just like kind of like the camp weirdo. I don't
fondle my sweaters, I just put on dick cream.
But Ford, because he's basically, you come to find out in the first game, he is like he's one of the founding Psychonauts, one of the best Psychonauts in the world, but his mind gets shattered.
You can do your whole Brendan thing with Gene and then just do a perfect Wet Hot American impression.
Brandon. Gene. I may just be a can of vegetables, Gene, but that doesn't mean I don't have feelings.
Your sweaters. Just don't tell anybody.
But no, I feel like, so Psychonauts, if you somehow haven't played it, and you really should, is a game about a summer camp for psychic children called Camp Whispering Rock, which is actually a top secret government training facility that your character, Raz, breaks into, and is such a huge fanboy that he convinces the counselors to let him stay. And as he's there, he gradually uncovers a conspiracy to steal the brains of the kids. And you find out, for example, mild spoilers here for a joke about midway through the game, that the lake monster is not just a campfire story.
Thanks, hulking lungfish. You know, you really aren't as hideous as people say.
You may call me now by my true name, Rasputin. The name given to me by my people.
And what name is that, noble lake creature?
Linda.
What a magical lady.
Sorry.
I love that.
Can I just say, and I went to a camp in the Everglades, overnight camp, and they didn't want us to get. Sorry, they said initially there's a freshwater shark in the lake. Don't go in there. Jesus. We have no idea whether the freshwater shark. What a great thing to tell children to not go in the lake at night.
Yeah,
or unsupervised, but they did, and like to this day, when I meet people, which I don't, and I haven't for a while, but like we think of like we point at each other with two gun fingers and are like freshwater shark, and it freaked us out for years. There was a freshwater shark out there willing to murder us. And it was just something that camp people told us.
But
and Psychonauts works on this too.
Well, yeah, the Linda the Lungfish thing
all the time.
The beauty of it is when you actually do encounter Linda in the game is you kind of see Raz through her eyes, or you see the people through her eyes, and really they're a threat to her, you know. And that's something that they use in the second game. There's this clairvoyance power where you kind of see the world through other people's eyes, and you get to see what they think of Raz, and some think of him as like a little shit, like a little terrorizing shit running around, you know. But no, and that sequence, the Linda sequence, is a great sequence in the original game. This game is just so cool though, because yes, it takes place in a summer camp, but really the levels themselves take place inside the minds of the people there at the camp. And I was trying to think of the best way to describe Psychonauts games, and what I arrived at, I think I sent you guys a message. I'm like, it's like if a dream sequence in Pee Wee Herman was made into a game. Yeah. Like that's what all these levels are like.
That's exactly what, if Tim Burton made a platformer.
Yeah. Yes.
If Tim Burton didn't suck and made a platformer.
Yeah. That's
if 90s Tim Burton had made a platformer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's what the Psychonauts levels are, is it but it's also like they deal with really mature themes about mental health. Like even the first game did this, where it's like you are trying to help people come to terms with their emotional baggage, which is literally a collectible in the game. You're trying to like find their emotional baggage and shit like that. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. I love it, but it also, no other game has ever nailed the feeling of summer camp. And I think this is something Double Fine does a great job at. I really want to know more about like where Tim Schafer like grew up and stuff. Just like I always say, Costume Quest nails the feeling of Halloween night. Like this game nails the feeling for kids of summer camp. As an adult, you feel like you're going back to summer camp when you first play this game, which is very rare.
Yeah, it's also just an amazing game.
It is. And on Game Pass.
I didn't replay the first one until very recently, but like I've never been more angry, violent, or horny than when I was at summer camp. And Psychonauts uses that.
Yes, Raz is very angry, violent, and horny.
Raz has a crush,
everybody else
Lily.
is.
Raz kisses a girl,
That's
Lily,
true.
and that's a recurring theme of the first one.
She has a very broad head, sort of shaped like a football with pigtails.
Her dad plays into the sequence of events in Rhombus of Ruin and Psychonauts 2, actually. Yeah. So, but this is the part of the show where I get to plug. So I beat Psychonauts 2, loved it. Like I said, game of the year. For patrons, soon, I will be recording a spoiler cast, at least with one other person. Tony Wilson is signed up because he loves the series so much. And hopefully you guys, when you beat it, will also,
I might.
We'll record it. We're going to do a
for
spoiler
a few
cast
hours, and I think it's game of the year material, and I think it's wonderful.
But it's the story is what made me decide, like, no, we need to do a spoiler cast, because the story in 2 goes some places. So patrons, look forward to that. As soon as everyone kind of finishes it, we will record that and get that up for you.
I need to get back on it. I got distracted over the weekend playing through No More Heroes 3, which we will talk about in our new releases segment. So on that note, that is our top 5. Hope you enjoyed it. We're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some new releases, some news, some other stuff. So stay tuned.
We run, we jump, we swim and play. We row and go on trips. But the thing that lasts forever are our dear friendships.
Camp Wanna.
We hold you in our hearts.
It's I hope we never part. Now get it right or pay the price.
Let's get scratching.
Do you like Video Game Apocalypse in 30-2010? Well, the LaserTime Patreon has figured out a way to combine the two. Over at patreon.com/LaserTime, we've taken a month's worth of 30-2010's games from 30, 20, and 10 years ago and grabbed the hosts,
Michael Raparez
and Matthew Allen,
from Video Game Apocalypse. And with our combined 3 decades plus in the games industry, we found a great way to take a deep dive into the biggest gaming anniversaries of the month. Here's a recent sample. And then my absolute favorite thing I'd never heard of until Michael put it in this doc. The Flintstones, Burger Time, and Bedrock. I wanted to find more trademark screens, but this is very much the arcade classic Burger Time.
Yep.
Done with me, your pal Fred. And he beats up like the Great Gazoo as if he's an enemy. But it is like a much slower Burger Time with a story. You know what they don't have, what they didn't shell out for? The Flintstones theme. But the Flintstones theme they came up with for Flintstones Burger Time in Bedrock is one of the most sublime and melancholy things I've ever heard.
Oh, God.
It's there. Yeah, this is sadder. Like if Wilma leaves Fred, this is what he's driving through in the middle of the movie. He's driving through the rain.
Flintstones meet the Flintstones.
That is like.
Am I really not attentive enough for Wilma? I'm too old to move on. So, in addition to weekly bonus shows, over 100 movie commentaries, exclusive specials, you can get the 30-2010 Video Games Edition, celebrating a month of important gaming milestones every single month at patreon.com/lasertime in exchange for just $5. And you'll support all of the LaserTime shows, including Video Game Apocalypse, right, guys?
Yay!
And welcome back to our final segment, where we're not going to waste any time getting right into this segment that is known as...
These are the new releases, they are releasing new releases. These are the new releases, everybody tells them.
I thought you were going to make us play a lawnmower mini game before we could talk about No More Heroes 3.
Well, that is something you get to do in No More Heroes 3. So, the long-awaited sequel to No More Heroes 2, except it kind of isn't. Here's the thing. So it is, gameplay-wise, it's a sequel to No More Heroes 1 and 2, in that, like, it has a lot of, third-person hacky-slashy battles. You can play with motion controls, but I played it with a Pro Controller on Switch. It's pretty fun. The combat's pretty fun. And then you spend your time between these fights and going around this open world, which has been expanded from the city of Santa Destroy to this star-shaped island, this archipelago called Utopiland. And you can go around to these various islands on the Spiel Tiger, Travis's bike. And what you do here is... so the structure of the game is there are 10 boss fights. Before each of these boss fights, which are regulated by this Assassin's Commission, you have to you have to complete 3 qualifying fights. So you have to go around the map now looking for those. There's like a little crystal, and now you get warped away, and now you're in a big room, and here, fight these 3 guys. And you do that until you fill up these 3 crystals at the top of the screen, and then it's like, okay, now you're qualified, we just need the money from you. And then they'll say, it's like 30,000 credits or whatever, and you're like, okay, well, I need to earn this much. So I go around and I do odd jobs. I mow lawns, I chase down punks on my bicycle in these high-speed race sequences, I hop into tanks parked on beaches and shoot at giant alligators that are trying to crawl to shore. Stuff like that. And so you earn money and you explore this open world, and then you get to experience a boss fight. Could
you inorganically do that in the game?
Inorganically?
Like the idea, like you get I fought my way to this point. Can I have a boss battle? No. You have to go back and earn the boss battle.
Yeah, well, and then once you earn the boss battle, it's like, okay, go to this place. There'll be a new marker there that wasn't there before, and now you get warped to the boss battle. And so that feels a bit like previous No More Heroes. The thing is, if you have not played Travis Strikes Again, you will be confused. You will also be confused if you are not familiar with Japanese film director Takashi Miike, because there's a ton of interstitials where Travis is just sitting around his living room with his friend Bishop, and they're talking about their favorite Miike films. And it's weird because in the dialogue subtitles, all the titles have like asterisks in them, like for I guess legal reasons. But then they say the full title, so it's like, oh yeah, Terraformers, let's watch that next. That's awesome.
How did that happen? Video games, you can't say Ichi the Killer in a game.
I mean, they say Ichi the Killer, but it's like asterisk asterisk the K asterisk LL asterisk R. It's silly and needless, I think. But and I don't know why a game would be subject to that restriction when a movie wouldn't be.
How would Kevin Smith make a movie?
Exactly. He could never make a video game, except that he did. But we don't talk about that. But yeah, like I said, it feels more like a sequel to Travis Strikes Again because it constantly references events and characters from that game, and having given up on that game not very far in, I felt a bit lost. But yeah, I mean, it's feels a bit grindy and repetitive, but it's fun overall.
I mean, these games always felt more about style than substance, you know, like, I hear it's definitely still stylish as fuck.
Oh, it's very, very stylish. And there's, like, the plot is weird because, like an alien, it starts off with like an E.T. parody where there's this character Damon who, like, in the 80s or 90s befriended this alien named Fu, which is always in all caps, and I think it was meant to be F-U, like E.T., but everybody just says Fu, and then, like, he says, like, I'll come back in 20 years, Damon, I love you, and he's like this cute little puffball dude, and then he comes back 20 years later, and now he's like an adult, human-looking, space punk, who's like, yeah, I just busted out of prison with all my friends, I'm Prince Jess Baptiste V, that's my real name, I'm gonna conquer this stupid planet, but I'm gonna do it in a way that's fun for me, so he like, says like, oh, any Earthling can challenge us, and you'll have to climb through these 10 rankings, and yeah, it's silly. And a lot of the boss battles are very samey, like, you know, one had a clear gimmick. It's like, oh, he's going to be using magnetic attacks with like north and south polarity, and you know what? I just ran up and slashed the shit out of him. I never even knew what that was supposed to do.
It's like an Ikaruga mechanic, but Michael's like, fuck that. I don't need to engage.
Look, my attacks do damage no matter what. I'm just going to wail on him. There's others, there's like a rhythm-based one where you have to play musical chairs, which kind of messed me up because it's like, it's showing the Switch button inputs, but my mind is hardwired for Xbox button inputs, so like every time it says X, I think, oh, X where it would be on the Xbox controller, which is Y on Switch. So I had trouble with that one.
I just have one question about this game, Michael. I think I already asked one, but this is another one. I thought drugs were banned in Japan. Like Suda is a.
If you, I don't know how many straight edge people you've met in your life, but they are some of the weirdest people you will ever meet.
I did it for a little while.
I got you.
Oh my God.
I got you.
Mm-hmm. So you don't need drugs to be creative, man.
I'm just saying this is some out there shit, but it sounds like
it's pretty out there.
I've never felt the need to have to do drugs to be creative. It was just dealing with life around drugs.
Well, is it fair to say if you enjoyed 1 and 2, it's probably worth finishing out the trilogy? Or as he said, this is a trilogy? Is there another one on the way? What do you think?
They do. I mean, not to spoil too much, but there is a hint at the end that, like, oh, something else might be coming down the pike. I don't know.
But yeah, another sequel in 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's like, well, it's 10 years later, and it feels more like Suda just started this series up again, like rebooted it almost with Travis Strikes Again, and that is the focal point. It's not No More Heroes 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So,
but I feel like so many people dislike Travis Strikes Again that people probably steered clear of that one. But you're saying like you kind of need to play that to understand some of the events of this one.
You know, you can go through it okay, but there'll be like, I kept having to like check the wiki, like, who is this person? Oh, they showed up in Travis Strikes Again. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
But as a long-time gamer, I don't need a lot of reason to hit the person in front of me.
It's all the supporting characters. Like, wait, this who's this guy? Oh, he was the protagonist of the Silver Case? And he's in here? Oh, he was in Travis Strikes Again also? Okay. Whatever.
All right. Shit. Mm-hmm. You're talking about coming down the pike. I played a racing game where you come down some pikes. Art of Rally is new on Game Pass, or newish. It's an isometric rally racing game, which feels weird to say. It takes place in this alternate history where basically, and this is explained to you by the statue of the Buddha at the beginning of the game. Like, the Buddha tells you, it's an alternate history where rally was never regulated. And so, like, basically, if you play through the career mode, you get to eventually race rally cars, like supercars as rally cars, which I get to do in Forza anyway. Which brings me to my one big complaint about this game. When I race, I usually do the behind the wheel view, or like the hood view, to immersion. And that's kind of, when I drive, I don't think of the insides of my car. I don't look around the inside of my car. I'm just looking at the road. Because this thing is it's not just like traditional racing game top down, it's like isometric top down, like really far away. I just feel really disconnected. It's almost like, imagine if they made RC Pro-Am today, right? Like, that's kind of how this thing controls
that's
and
the
looks.
only thing that seems weird, when I should only have a guy next to me yelling hard right if I can't see the entire track, but if I can, why are you here?
The whole reason they did the isometric view is so that you don't need those cues in your ear. You can see the road from far away, like what's coming up, and plan accordingly. And it also, like, as a racing game, there's some shit like you have to nail your timing. It's a weird contrast though, because like racing wise, it's really difficult game controls and stuff like that. But it's like this very zen, simplistic art style. Like, not for me. But I'd say if you want to experience a racing, like a different type of racing game than you have in a bit, you might dig it. I think a lot of people are going to dig the aesthetic of the game more than anything, but it is on Game Pass, so check it out if you're curious.
Oh, I feel like, because we talked so much about the violence against women in 12 minutes, No More Heroes 3 has a ton of violence against women, and it is really brutal, like right at the beginning. Like, an important supporting character gets her head stomped on and her arms ripped off, and she's catatonic for most of the rest of the game. It's the alien overlord does it, but
hey, can we talk about Recompile, which is a game we kind of missed last week that I also played on Game Pass?
What is it?
It is a Metroidvania in 3D. That is a Tron-like. And it reminds me of this idea I've had for a while of games that reproduce operating systems, or the look of operating systems. This game is very much that. So the premise is you're this AI who's sent kind of to clean up this computer system that some bad shit has happened to. That's all you know. But everything it's very Tron-like in that it's like you're trying to make your way to their equivalent of the MCP or whatever from Tron. Like, oh, you need to install yourself in this area and go over here, and oh, you're fighting the AI countermeasures, that are meant to keep out intruders in the system. But it's like all the menus and shit are very ASCII, like early PC, like early 80s PC shit, and the look of this is meant to be like a Tron-likely, very simplistic polygons.
I have no business mentioning this, but a Canadian site started accepting pre-orders, and it was Best Buy for the Tron arcade game, which is in everyone's consensus is like, I don't love this game, but if this has to be furniture, it's the prettiest piece of
Is it the
arcade furniture
cabinet?
that is
the step-in one was awesome.
Yeah, it's the glowing stick version.
Oh yeah,
it looks great. It looks amazing, and everyone was like I don't love the game, but like my house would look really great with this. I don't disagree. It's like $500. Oh God.
So my my one kind of complaint with this game is it just didn't hook me. Like, I like Metroidvanias. I like Narita Boy that was on Game Pass a few months ago.
How would you like a Metroidvania, which is coming very soon?
Yeah, there you go. I would just say, like, yeah, the combat in this one, it's odd because it is 3D, so you're like shooting at the enemies, and it's this kind of over the shoulder view, and I don't know, like, it's like premise wise, it's cool, but then in actually playing it, I was like, it's just not really hooking me. But again, Game Pass, so if you're into Metroidvanias, worth downloading and checking out to see if it hooks you, but didn't do it for me, and it should. I'm totally the audience for this game, and it didn't do it for me. So.
Whatever, when Psychonauts 2 is out and is one of, like, I did not pay a cent for, and I feel like it's going to be one of our games of the year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all know Michael's favorite game also came to Game Pass, Myst, the remaster.
Yes, I need to check that out.
I do too. I
want
to see
I don't know if y'all have
remastered.
tried to play Real Myst recently, the first fully 3D Myst remake. It does not look good at all today.
Well, I was wondering what resolution is it? It's not even 480, right? It's like really
original
low.
Myst. I think it was like it ran on like a tiny little window within the. I'm vaguely remembering like playing it on Mac on our first CD-ROM drive, which had a little caddy that you put the CDs in.
Well, because I don't know about you guys, but my default monitor resolution back then, like we're talking early Pentium days, was like 640 by 480 was like kind of the standard resolution. This was before 1280 resolution became, and then eventually, obviously, we're way above that
I think
now.
Myst might have been when 1280 monitors were a thing, but
it's one of the first games I've ever played on PC, and I would pay to not play it again.
Well, too bad. You've already paid, and it's technically... Like, it's free to you because you're
you've already paid. You've
you're
paid.
a Game Pass
I'm a
subscriber.
Game Passer.
Maybe they'll remove the compression from the fucking garbage full motion video.
I should hope so.
No, they should leave that in.
Did see
leave it in.
Somebody posted a video the other day of like who's the father character, not Akinar or Cirrus, but Atris, I think.
Do you expect Chris and I
he's
to
like
know
holding
any
up
of
a
this?
Myst book to you, but like instead of the little video of the world playing, it's just like a real player logo.
Oh god. That is like a real player of the game.
But Man-Eater Truth Quest DLC came out this week. Full disclosure, I got a code from Tripwire Interactive and our good buddy Tyler Nagata. It adds, if you played Man-Eater, the shark RPG, it adds a new area, like a new island. It's a whole discrete, separate open area that you can fast travel to. And it is like the whole thing is that the host of the nature program that you were previously on has now gone full QAnon psycho conspiracy horseshit, and not quite QAnon, but it does kind of toe that line and get into like some of the shit Q talks about. But and now it's all about like the NWO is trying to subjugate humanity at the behest of its insectoid alien overlords. And so you, as the shark, are traveling to this island owned by the NWO and fucking up their shit. And I do appreciate that they lean into the NWO thing with one of the bosses. So the quote unquote story mode structure is a little weird because it tasks you with doing a bunch of things that in Man-Eater proper are mostly side tasks, like getting your notoriety up so that these bounty hunter bosses come after you. One of the bounty hunter bosses is a clear analog for Hulk Hogan, who has the stealth boat from Thunder in Paradise and has like a big NWO logo across the back of his black flak jacket, and it's just like, this is too good.
I mean, what are the odds? Chances are pretty high that one of the NWO guys is probably a QAnon GQP type dude. Like, hey yo, let me tell you about Q Chico. Like fucking.
Yeah. But well, the Q the announcer, the narrator is the Q conspiracy guy. But you also like have a new collectible, which is questers who are these little fat guys wearing tinfoil pyramid hats. And so you have to find them. You can identify them by their rambling, which you'll hear when you're nearby, and then you eat them. One neat thing about this is that so near the end of Maneater, you've unlocked all these crazy-ass mutations. You can be like an electric shark or a bone-covered shark or whatever. And so there are new apex predators that have those mutations. So they're like a lot tougher than anything that you would face in the regular, like Port Clovis, I think is the name of the...
Okay. Yeah, because those guys are always like, oh, they take a few more bites than the other versions of that creature, but they're not really apex predators, you know. They're no Randy Orton is what I'm saying.
You can also get new atomic parts for your shark, and they let you do things like, once you activate this ability, you can just like hold down the right trigger, and you will aim and launch atomic blasts out of your shark's mouth. The tail whip also now unleashes smaller atomic blasts. It's pretty cool. It's good for fucking up the hunters that come after you, who are really quite tough.
Yeah, the hunters were the hardest. Like the high level hunters from the first game became the hardest part of that game. Like those missions were tough.
And so because that's like a side thing, I kind of thought that it was like much shorter than it actually was, and it's just like, oh, I guess I did follow these story quests, and now the story quests have disappeared. And what I didn't realize, like, oh, I need to trigger all those hunts. And once I beat the level 5 bounty boss, then I get to continue with this. And I think it spills over into Port Clovis, where you're hunting this gigantic organism, the atomic leviathan or whatever it's called. But it's pretty cool. It's fun if you want an excuse to jump back into Maneater, and you've already done most of what that game had to offer. It's pretty badass.
I'm guessing they didn't pay Parn money to get the Parn back.
No, he's back. He's back, and he's just going full bore conspiracy weird shit.
Really? I'm shocked. Okay. No. He was like one of the best parts of that game. Like Chris Parnell is so fucking funny.
He's definitely back.
This game, I know, like it was kind of on our list of like top games of the year when it came out, but I'm like, when I think back about that year, I'm like, you know, it might not have been the best game, but I certainly had some of the most fun playing any game with this game last year. Like it's just a fun, stupid, fucking fun game. It's just dumb. It's just dumb fun. You know, it's like I'm gonna eat a lot of shit.
Yeah, and it's just very chaotic. Like, I'm gonna make a huge mess. There's like a bunch of side quests where like there are Marines like patrolling or training on the shoreline. It's like, go eat 10 of those guys. Okay, now go over here and eat another 10 of those guys. And my only real complaint about it so far was that it's just like, this island is dominated by what looks like a gigantic Dr. Evil lair with like, just like up on this mountain, all these big helipads and, like a huge round office building looking thing. And it's just like, I want to like find a cave that's going to let me swim up into that somehow. And it just seems to be window dressing. Like, there's no way, that doesn't actually have a bearing on the plot. It's just the background.
What point's an evil lair if you can't swim into it with a shark with fucking laser beams?
But as I said, like, this is actually quite a bit longer than I realized, so it's possible I just haven't unlocked that. But I haven't found a way to get up there.
So what's the DLC called again, Michael?
Truth Quest.
Truth Quest.
Mm-hmm. So it's like $15, and I had a lot of fun with it. So
cool.
But anyway, that's all the games that are out this week, so let's move along to...
News. China has passed some restrictive, I won't say laws, but gaming regulations, rules, that basically make it so that kids can now only play 3 hours per week total on Friday.
I have never had a news story where everyone I know, because they know I play video games for a living, has asked me about this for the last week.
You can tell them I don't live in China.
Yeah, nor do you.
Right.
And you can play fucking Minish Cap all you want, but if you're gonna play fucking weirdo gotcha games.
That's the thing. So it's only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but that's with online games. It's any game that's requiring a login. So far, the regulation doesn't affect offline games, but those are the types of games that are mostly played in China.
Yeah, are the most evil. China literally restricted the most evil games, the kind that are modern day. What would you call them?
They're free to play.
No, they are gacha games. They are fucking slot games. Essentially, you can't do good unless you pay money and
pay to win.
Yeah, pay to win, kind of nonsense.
But so Kotaku had an interesting think piece about this. And there were a couple takeaways. That number one, this is a tightening of an existing regulation. I guess before kids under 18 could play up to an hour per weeknight, and then 3 hours a day, Monday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And now they tightened it to like no hours a week or no hours a day for weeknights, and then 1 hour a day Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
It's tightening up of an existing regulation, like you said. And again, it
sucks.
Games.
But also, like, the reason that the gaming landscape in China is like 92 to 95% free to play games, or one of the reasons may be because China has a long history of anxiety about video games, and for a long time banned the sale of game consoles completely, calling them digital cocaine.
Yeah, the console market is still almost non-existent in China. It's very, very small for such a large country.
I know Nintendo's made some inroads over the years. They had the IQ for a while. I think they might have... They might have been releasing newer consoles.
Well, it's when you do it too. You have to go through a Chinese company. Like they make you go through. Like it can't be like a foreign company publishing this stuff. Like you have to have like a local partner. There's all kinds of rules and restrictions.
As far as I know, they didn't ban like this asshole can't play Earthbound for 4 hours on a weekend.
I'm not going to let you be an apologist for the Chinese government in this one, though. Like, it's still a shitty regulation. If a
kid with a 13-year-old login, he can't play Fortnite for 2 hours.
And I get that their intention is to prevent addiction and to prevent some of these games have some predatory monetary practices, right? But
some of them.
But this is where I'd say it's up to the.
I would say the majority of them, like China, is literally targeting its most predatory game. China is making the most predatory games.
But I'm sorry, like I don't think the government should be the one setting this shit. That parents regulate that shit. You know, I have kids.
I don't disagree with you, but I think China is literally regulating the games in its own country that they will spread to the rest of the world and not regulate even slightly.
Are we completely sure it only applies to online games?
So far, I mean, according to IGN's article on it, it said the rules are limited to online gaming.
It applies to live games only. Live games will literally regulate what kids can play.
Yeah,
but that also to me says like, no, we don't want our kids to see gaming as a social activity. It is only for shut-ins and losers.
No, but like no one says it like this.
Single player only.
Last of Us 2 is not regulated by China. You can play that all day long.
But it's also not really played much there. You know, like it's
right. But like they are mostly playing gambling games. This is China regulating its own gambling because they made a bunch of gambling games that addicted its own youth.
And that's the weird part of whenever this happens in China is it hurts Chinese companies a lot, you know, and that's kind of the problem with when they set these rules. There's usually little to no advance notice for the companies that the rules will affect. And it's like, this is going to hit their bottom line for sure, right? Like all of these companies that are in China, like, are probably just going, what the fuck, man? Like, you know, like.
But I worked for a Japanese company for a couple of years and like, they operated on a idea that was separate from money. It was very strange as an American. And I'm not judging it. For that.
Well, but I just think in this case, it's like, the reason people are sort of freaking out is it seems very restrictive.
Mm-hmm. And it's the esports capital of the world. Like, how are people supposed to practice and train?
An hour. I mean, come on, you can barely get through a tutorial in that much time.
Well, and I think the Kotaku article pointed out it's this weird dichotomy of like, well, China is like the number one esports country in the world. Like they have official government supported teams and stuff. and then they have this regulation. It's almost like, you know, one hand's not talking to the other with some of this stuff, you know.
I'm not trying to be an ugly American, but I really think they make a majority of their money off of non-Chinese people, and they will, like, don't let Chinese people do this shit. Like, we'll spread this shit all over. Genshin Impact is a Chinese game. It's mentioned in the report.
My favorite game, as you point out on the podcast all the time. Yeah,
absolutely.
Which actually they have some new trailers out, and I'm like, fuck, I should play Genshin Impact. Yeah. Like you should.
Because it really it feels like a slightly less complicated Breath of the Wild with a bunch of recruitable characters who are cute anime girls.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't want to sound racist, so I'll shut my mouth. But like, I'm glad I'm not a Chinese person playing slot machine glorified games in China.
Well, and so that's the thing is like, it's cultural relativism, right? Is when we're like examining this thing through the eyes of like here in the U.S. Like, yeah, if the government here tried anything like that, we'd fucking throw a fit, and rightfully so, right? I'm not, you know, one of these people that's like protesting mask and vaccine mandates and shit like that, but like something like that, I'd go, dude, come on now, that's ridiculous. And so, yeah, but again, cultural relativism, like, to me it seems ridiculous. In China, like, maybe, I guess a lot of parents were asking for the government to do something like this, which, again, I feel like, why don't you just regulate your own kids' gaming behavior? I don't know. That's a thing, right? Anyway, take the tablet away is what I'm saying. Jesus.
Can't be home all the time with a...
I guess.
I don't know.
I guess. Well, you know, with 3 hours a week, you might not have a lot of time to play the PlayStation Plus games of the month in September, which were leaked. Again, someone is having a lot of fun leaking these games. But we're confirmed. You guys ready? You ready to hear what they are?
Yeah.
You ready? All right. We got Hitman 2, a very good game. Overcooked, what's it called? Like the all-you-can-eat edition, which is basically a remaster of Overcooked 1 and 2, and I assume all the DLC, which is like, fuck yeah, man, if you want a game to end a relationship, Overcooked is the best one. And then that Predator Hunting Grounds, we were talking about asymmetric multiplayer earlier.
That's true.
This is basically the Predator skin for the Friday the 13th game. It's my understanding. So maybe I'll play that.
If you've been hesitating to get into that, like, it's free, sort of, with the PlayStation Plus subscription.
Yeah.
It's free, asterisk quotes.
If this doesn't work, it's over.
So, you know what was really telling to me is like, so a lot of the sites were publishing like, oh, yeah, PlayStation Plus games confirmed. Well, here's the counterpart. And instead of going games with gold, they just went, well, here's your Game Pass games coming in September, which I'm like, okay, so everyone's now just admitting like Game Pass is the real play. The games this month, they're maybe not a lot of huge ones, but Final Fantasy 13 for you Final Fantasy people. Let's see. Surgeon Simulator DOS is coming. The DOS. Nuclear Throne. That's the Rami Ismail game, isn't it? His old studio.
I think so. Sounds
and then the rest, a lot of indies, frankly, I just didn't recognize most of these other games. But, yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy 13. If you haven't played that, now you get to.
It's a tube for the first...
For most of the game.
Yeah, for the first 100 hours or so.
Play a story. It's a good story, too, while it's a story, too.
You'll learn the battle system in 9 hours. And then, I think 30 hours you'll be able to play.
Yeah, well, even when it opens up to be an open world game, it's like...
It's awesome.
It's not a lot of story stuff going on there. You can pretty much go through it. So, hey, remember, I think it was a few weeks ago, we talked about Will Smith is coming to Fortnite, or maybe we didn't talk about it, but I read the news and laughed at it. We finally figured out which Will Smith it will be. Michael, play the sound.
It's Mike Lowry.
It's Mike Lowry from, there's nothing the young kids love more than flossing as Bad Boys character Mike Lowry. This is ridiculous.
I don't know.
What?
Like, what I want to see is for them to, like, take the Will Smith avatar, tweak it slightly, and give us Wall Smath, which was that weird meme from like 10 years ago where somebody just like blew up all of his facial features really huge.
Give me a tiny mouth, only for farts.
That's Wool Smith.
Wall Smith. I'm sure you can't drown, only for farts.
I feel like that pigeon character, when he's the spy turned pigeon, is probably more appropriate for Fortnite than
these are all Will Smith references. Even kids won't get. They're failed Will Smith references.
Well, and this is why the kids will say, Michael, second sound.
I can't be no Mike, man.
So, yeah, I mean, they just can't. They can't be Mike Lowry. I don't know who this is for.
Done.
I don't know who this is for. Maybe Martin Lawrence. I don't know. Are the kids clamoring for more Will Smith or Mike Lowry content? Is that where we're at right now?
I mean, we're 21 years into this millennium. It's about time we got some Will Smith content.
Excuse me, millennium.
God damn, that was a good joke. I like that a lot. So yeah, you get to play as Mike Lowry coming to Fortnite. Or I think he's in there already. The last news item is pretty much just for me. It's a say it ain't so. NetEase, Chinese company NetEase, is in final negotiations with Yakuza creator Toshiro Nagoshi of Ryuga Gotoku Studio.
He's going to go design a game you can only play an hour at a time on weekends.
Apparently. Yeah, it's true. But this guy, he has some storied history at Sega. Started on Virtua Racer, made his way over to the Monkey Ball series, which explains why there's so much Monkey Ball in the Yakuza games. But and of course has led Ryuga Gotoku for years and years. Like, this would be a fucking gigantic loss to Sega to lose this guy. So yeah, I'd be bummed. I feel like the Yakuza series, despite the popularity of Like a Dragon, because of the bullshit with the actor from Judgment, is kind of at this weird like crossroads. You know, like it's either going to be huge or it's all going to fall apart. And I'd be so fucking upset and sad if it fell apart. Like, come on, let's keep it together. God damn it, Sega. What else are you working on? You got Sonic Colors and some fucking RTS games and this.
Yeah.
Get your head straight. Anyway, that's all the news that's fit to play.
All right. Well, let's move on to our community segment, which as always is segmenting our community. Last week's question of the week was, what games would you want to see get a director's cut with extended scenes, more story, etc.? On VidjagameApocalypse.com, Shaquille Oatmeal says... Excuse me.
Sorry, that's so fun.
It's a good name.
Good.
Yeah. Give me a Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order director's cut. As one of my favorite games of 2019, I would love a reason to go back to it and interact with BD-1 and Cal Kestis again. They could go into some of the stuff Cal goes through during the Jedi Purge at the end of Revenge of the Sith, or maybe have Seer and Grease in their own playable backstory levels. Just give me more of that Dark Souls Metroidvania goodness.
It's quite good. It's quite good. And it's part of Game Pass, so no excuse. eHyundai says, it almost seems too easy to say Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yes, why didn't I think of that?
But I can't think of anything more deserving of a director's cut. Back in 2018, I was getting close to the end of TPP, and I wanted to play through MGS3 and Peace Walker before I saw the ending. After dozens of hours of sneaking and rage-quitting Peace Walker, I returned to Metal Gear Solid 5, only to learn that I had already beaten the game. Still don't know, by the way, if I've beaten the game. This is Matt talking here.
When missions start to repeat, you've beaten the game.
Okay. Yes, then I did. All that was left was replaying a couple missions on a higher difficulty. TPP remains one of my favorite games of the generation, but it's undeniably unfinished, and I would have loved to see Kojima's complete vision. In the same vein, it would be interesting to play MGS4 with the rumored original ending that had Snake and Otacon being tried and executed as terrorists.
God damn, that would have meant, like, I feel like Kojima was always threatening, like, this is gonna be my last Metal Gear game. That ending would have been like, no, really, no, I'm never doing this again, fuck you.
I mean, there's a secret Smash Brothers ending, which is just a huge orgy. They all fuck each other, and Sakurai's been threatening for years. Make it happen, is what I say.
Otacon. Oh, Snake.
I was talking Nintendo characters orgy, but that would be good too, Michael. I mean, Snake was in there, so he could he could be part of the orgy.
They're both in the box together.
Peach.
At When We Find the Meteor, we'll find Dr. Wowie on Twitter, says, I was just playing the recently added new Donk City course in Mario Golf Super Rush, and it reminded me of how much I love Super Mario Odyssey. A Mario Odyssey director's cut would be perfect while we wait for a proper sequel. Add some new characters to play as, like Luigi or Peach and Tiara? Add some new kingdoms like Isla Delfino or one based on Super Mario Bros. 2. Maybe they could take a hint from the last Mario Kart and add some kingdoms and costumes based on other Nintendo franchises.
Mm-hmm.
How much fun would it be to play as Mario running around Hyrule, Popstar, or even Planet Zebes? Zebes? I never know how to pronounce it.
I've never known.
Maybe they could even add third-party kingdoms and let Mario race his go-kart through the 100th recreation of Green Hill Zone.
You know, we don't talk about that enough, is Mario Kart is a Mario game that incorporates other Nintendo franchises other than Smash. That never happens. Like, there are Zelda tracks, there are Animal Crossing tracks. Like, but it's a weird
Animal
thing.
Crossing and Zelda are the exceptions. That's never happened before.
Yeah. I mean, there's Splatoon characters in there, but I don't think they have their own track. Yeah, anyway. At You Old So-and-so says, the game I want to see a director's cut version of is a Mortal Kombat trilogy. Not so much an expansion with new story content as a definitive release that upgrades everything to arcade level and has all the various characters and secrets from every version. Think along the lines of what Digital Eclipse did with The Lost Vikings and Rock and Roll Racing in the recent Blizzard Arcade collection. I don't even like Mortal Kombat, but that much, but it would be neat to have all of those characters and features in a definitive version. You know, so I did a post on the Facebook group that was kind of a poll of like, hey, what's your best compilation game? And I really wanted to be able to put a recent Mortal Kombat one, and I was bummed. I'm like, there hasn't been one since the trilogy games.
No, the arcade one up is pretty great.
Yes, but console games that I can buy for $10.
It's a $500 game that you have to stand at.
Yeah.
Agreed, but it's good. Did you not see the Warner Brothers the Shaggy Infinite was
I saw the Warner Brothers animation of like Scorpion with an angry Shaggy.
I didn't even know they made two R-rated Mortal Kombat R-rated animated movies. Warner Brothers
get over here, zoinks! Yeah, so I mean, but okay, what I'm talking about though is, I mean, yeah, people don't really like these games, but like Mortal Kombat 4 through 8, where the fuck have they been? There's just no love for those games. Like,
no,
anything that incorporates those.
There really isn't any love for those games.
Look, I like Deadly Alliance, Michael. Don't you give me shit about Deadly
I will give you so much shit. My God, taste is terrible. On the official Laser Time community on Facebook, Chris Lee Hosit says, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, it's well documented that Soul Reaver had a ton of stuff cut from it. It was like a Sonic 3 situation, except they didn't have the End Knuckles lock-on technology to split the game in two and stagger separate releases. Since Soul Reaver tends to pop up whenever people discuss PS1 remakes, I'd love to see a remade version with all of those original plans brought in. It would probably mess up the continuity with the sequels, but who cares? Let's just start from scratch. If Final Fantasy VII Remake can come back slightly different, why can't Legacy of Kain? As long as they bring back director Amy Hennig to give us her actual director's cut.
I work with a lot of people who were at Crystal Dynamics, I think it was, when they were working on these games, and like, I have so many questions. But yes, this is the right answer. By the way, Chris Lehosa, you won for this week. You won Best Answer of the Week. You get nothing other than self-satisfaction.
You
so
win
congrats.
a no prize, right to Marvel Comics in New York, I guess. Question mark? Put that on the envelope.
Yeah. Leonardo Chavez, though, says, I would like to see a director's cut of Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. The game was originally designed for the Nintendo 64, and based on images from that version, a lot had changed or characters were swapped out when it was finally released on the GameCube. What makes it interesting is that those characters not used still ended up in the game, but no origin story for them. Just an unexplained corpse in an area or random encounter with one of those characters. Also, they could expand and improve the sanity effects, which was a fun, unique gimmick. Nintendo has not forgotten this game as the main character, Alexandra Roivas, as a spirit character in Smash Ultimate. I didn't know that. That's neat.
You know what else is interesting? Alexandra Roivas. Alexandra is the feminine form of Alexander, which means savior of men. And Roivas is just savior spelled backwards.
God damn it. That is good. That's good.
We have a video answer from RedRock963 who says,
Hey VGA, it is RedRock963 here to talk about the question of the week. What game do you want to see a director's cut of? And I want Sonic 3 and Knuckles together as one game, just like God intended. I mean, you got the lock-on technology thing, but I really want to see how that game was supposed to turn out before they chopped it into two halves. And the ROM hacking community has kind of done an excellent job of supplying that. There's a couple ROM hacks you can find that calls it Sonic 3 and Knuckles Director's Cut, and they reshuffle the levels to be in the intended order, which is something that you can see on the level select screen and on Sonic 3 if you are good enough to actually input that level select screen, which I am not. Then, yeah, I am genuinely surprised that Sega hasn't done this. They could give it to Christian Whitehead, and just he would make that director's cut pretty amazing. And Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favorite Sonic game. Well, my favorite classic Sonic game before Sonic Mania. And I don't know if the background makes it apparent, but I am a very huge Sonic fan.
That's a lot of Sonics.
Want to see that game together, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And I hope you guys have an excellent week, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Red Rock 963. New question of the week. Tell us your best camp or camping story. I feel like we already said a bunch of these at the beginning of the show, but I'll say one that I didn't say, which is one. So I was in an organization. I'm not sure if it's still around or what it's called now. When I was in it, it was called Indian Guides, and it was like a father-son thing. And we went.
I could have been. I might have been the head of that.
Wasn't there a Tim Allen movie about those? Like I feel like
no. I know what Michael. It was the Boy Scout version of YMCA's Indian.
Yeah.
The YMCA version of Boy Scouts, basically.
Yeah.
And
totally.
But we went on a camping trip, and I remember that like this kid. We went fishing, and this kid whipped around his fishing pole, and the hook caught his dad in the eyelid.
No.
And so the dad was like...
Was the dad Chevy Chase?
Just about, like, it somehow missed his eye and just lodged in his upper eyelid. So, like, somebody else was helping him cut the barb off and get the hook out, and the kid was just sitting there absolutely devastated, crying his eyes out, like, he's okay, he'll be okay.
Oh my God, was the dad just full of chill, or was he just completely freaking the fuck out?
He was surprisingly chill. I remember he was just like sitting still while, one of the other people's like, okay, hold still, I'm going to try and get this off here. And like, yeah, it was a horrifying thing, but it turned out okay in the end, I guess.
When I very rarely have to describe the rise and love of Chevy Chase, it's very well described by my dad's well-meaningfulness. Chevy Chase should not be popular in the 80s or 90s. He was a noted failure. I'm boring my friends, but
you've only just started the story.
Well, I just remember I switched to a camp that had video games.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. I remember trying to learn how asshole was best spelled with 8 letters because 8 was still binary. 1 L. No E, which one? But I could bring that entire church to its knees, like, oh my God! Did you Capcom's Disney and the Magic Kingdoms is someone put the name asshole in this. Oh, we have to erase this whole game. It was so fun to ruin these people's lives who really believed in a guy named Jesus, who never helped us, by the way.
Never helped you with the games?
Name one moment where Jesus helped anyone.
You clearly haven't read like any of the Bible, dude. Like, there's so many miracles.
I read all the Bible. Our lifetime. When did Jesus come down and help us, Matt? Please.
Okay, you're talking our lifetime. Okay,
please.
Okay,
please give it to me.
A lot of good is done in the name of Jesus from churches with charities.
I don't disagree, but what did Jesus do in our lifetime?
Okay, you're saying like the actual corporeal representation of Jesus coming down.
He
from
killed
heaven.
Osama bin Laden. How's that?
Yep,
I feel like he pops up in like New York radio stations to talk about how this is how he evaporated shit from people on Noah's Ark. That's all Jesus has done the last couple of years.
He wasn't even around when Noah's Ark happened. But
that's true.
The Catalina thing was kind of cool, but I don't have a specific story from that. But I do have one. When I was growing up, one of my church camps took place at a place called Pathfinder Ranch, which is up in like kind of the mountains near Palm Springs, actually, for some reason. But I remember one of the things we did, they made us have a pillow fight. And I wasn't like the oldest kid at that camp, but I was always one of the biggest kids growing up. And the pillow fight basically was, if you get knocked down, they made us beat the shit out of each other. And if you get knocked down, you're out. It came down to me and one other boy. And literally, we were so exhausted, we could not swing hard enough to knock each other down. They had to call a draw. And I just remember the next day was like we were leaving camp. I was like on a bus. They were giving me Gatorade, me and this kid, and like, good job, kids. You guys lasted. We've never seen a fight like that. Like, I was getting congratulated for the knockdown, drag out pillow fight that we nearly killed ourselves and concussed ourselves for the pleasure of, no doubt for camp counselors, just for shits and giggles of little kids beating each other senseless with pillows. So thank you for that, camp counselors. If you ever see me on the streets, you will catch these pillows, motherfuckers. You will catch these pillows.
Well, tell us your best camping story. Go to VidjagameApocalypse.com and answer into the comments for episode 435. Alternately, you can hit us up on the official LaserTime community on Facebook. There'll be a thread there where you can answer, or ping us on Twitter at VGApocalypse, and we will collect the best answers and read them on next week's show. Anyway, that's been our show. Chris, it's the moment you've been waiting for. Get some plugs out and go to bed.
I'm good. Patreon.com/lasertime. I'm so tired.
All right. Well, as I mentioned earlier on the show, patreon.com/lasertime is the only place you will be able to catch the Psychonauts 2 spoiler cast, which will definitely include Tony Wilson, myself, probably Michael, maybe Chris. We'll see. Game of the Year material. Awesome story. Can't wait to talk about it for like an hour. If you've never heard one of our spoiler casts, we fucking dive deep. We talk gameplay, we talk story, we talk... It's like the time we don't have on this show, we just gush about a game. So,
all of you need to play Psychonauts 2. It's fucking great. It's one of the best games I've ever seen in my life.
And it's on Game Pass, even on Last Gen, which I didn't know last week. But yeah, it's on Xbox One, so check it out. But and I think it's on PC as well. But anyhow, that will be up on Patreon when we get that done, which will probably be in a couple weekends from now. Otherwise, check me out on Twitter, Matty C. Allen, MattyCallen.
All right, cool. Well, as always, you can visit us online at VidjagameApocalypse.com. Follow us on Twitter at VGApocalypse, or follow me personally at Wikiparaz. That's WIKIPARAZ. Anyway, that's been our show. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
If you get sucked into a computer and try to convince to play basketball, you might be in Space Jam.
There's your secret sound.
There's your secret sound.